Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today I wanted to give you a list of the 5 best characters, the 5 best Pokemon that you should be using in solo queue. Now, of course, this list is kind of relevant to the current meta and also a little bit of subjective because it's some of my favorite picks and some of the things that I think are really thriving in solo queue. But go ahead and drop a like on the video, stick around, stay tuned to the end, listen to the whole list, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So, number 1 on the list is going to be Lucario. Now, Lucario is a pretty insane character. One of the strongest characters in the game, like literally one of the best. Incredibly overpowered and has been for a really long time, but ironic enough, in solo queue, the character isn't actually as like overpowered or broken as it normally is in, say, like a 5-stack scenario. You have to kind of duo lane with it in solo queue usually. Getting your stacks in for attack weight is a little bit harder, but the character's potential is still the same. That ceiling of what this Pokemon can achieve is incredibly high. Now, there have been some changes to this Pokemon, so lately I've been kind of recommending to go E-Speed Bone Rush. You can also go Power Up Punch if you want to. That will give you the ability to kind of secure objectives, but really whenever I'm playing Lucario, I prefer to go E-Speed Bone Rush and just try to completely decimate team fights. This character's strength is really centered around bursting during team fights and also around the 850 Bs. If you can get level 5, or really just early game Bs in general, if you can get level 5 and you can be strong, this character is absolutely ridiculous. You know, the thing about Lucario, and people always bring this up, and it's definitely been something we've known for a while, is that it doesn't have the best Unite move in the world, but the Unite move actually enables this character in a few different ways. It gives you that stem, that move speed increase, it gives you the ability to kind of like run really fast, chase down the target that you want, and it also can act as a secure. So if you have to flip an objective, a Dreadnought, a Rotom, a Zapdos, then don't forget that you do have that Unite move. You have to kind of time the like the wind up of the Unite move, but still it's something to get into. Now, I really just think that the thing about this character is that it does have a slightly higher skill ceiling, so you have to kind of learn the ins and outs. You have to understand how the E-Speed resets work, you have to understand how the Bone Rush can kind of play into that, or just whatever build you're learning and playing with Lucario, you have to get very well versed in. As for build options, I think that Lucario and all-rounders in general have really versatile builds. For solo queue, I 100% recommend a Score Shield and attack weight. The third item is really up to you. You could go Razor Claw, Weakness Policy, you can go Buddy Barrier, Focus Band if you want something a little bit more tanky. It really is just kind of like in your hands to kind of decide that third slot playstyle item. But yeah, I think Lucario is insane, and I definitely think that you should be using this character in solo queue. Alright, number 2 is going to be Ninetales. Now, Ninetales recently was buffed, and this character is an SP all-rounder, SP attacker, and you don't have the most self-sufficiency in the world, but with the buffs to this character, it has gotten massively more viable. You have the Aurora Veil that now has mobility, so you can kind of decide whether or not you want to bring like a full heal or an eject button to the table. You have just incredibly strong burst damage whenever you're in that Aurora Veil, bursting with the boosted autos, and the laning phase of this character is hands down the best part of the entire kit, like of the entire play time that you're gonna have on this character rather. And overall, this character just brings a lot of damage to the table, and it brings a lot of kind of turn potential. People will kind of think that they're winning the fight, but Ninetales can really turn things around. The Unite move is pretty strong. It's not the strongest part of the kit by any means, but just the mobility, the stun, the kind of supporty, almost tanky, almost bursty kind of nature of this character has really pushed this Pokemon higher and higher up my list for solo queuing. And while it may not be my actual best option for solo queuing, I don't prefer to play this character all the time, I think that it had to make my list just for how well that it's performing right now. Alright, number 3 is going to be Hoopa. Now, listen, Hoopa is a really cool character. Hoopa was recently nerfed, and that's probably a really good thing because Hoopa was performing incredibly strong. But the thing about this character is that it is very much so a support that also leans into that attacker role. Not only just with Hoopa Unbound, the Unite move where you have that gigantic laser beam and the big stun, which, trust me, helps a lot in a team fight, but because of the nature of the double Shadow Ball trick build. Now, when I play Hoopa, I love double Shadow Ball, like the trick Shadow Ball build. I think that it is incredibly viable. I think that it brings a ton of CC and damage to the table, and it's like having a support that is also like having an attacker. So when solo queuing, the character's still incredibly fun to play, and you do have to rely on teammates a little bit, but it's not the same as, say, playing like a Blissey or playing like a Defender or playing like an Eldegoss. Like, you're still getting a lot done, and the best part about this character is the Unite move. The Hoopa Unbound, not only for the damage, but for the giant teleport, the global teleport. Most of the time, you can influence where your team wants to go because they are going to take that teleport. A lot of the time, they're going to take that teleport. So if you're kind of like playing smart, you have good game sense, and you know where to position, then Hoopa is an amazing choice in solo queue. I've been playing a little bit more in solo queue and finding a little bit more success with it. And yeah, like I said, it's a supporter, but I think it's a really great option. All right, now number 4 is going to be Doraldon. Now, this should not be any secret to anybody. Doraldon is broken. This is the new day, new age Hyper Beam. This is a ridiculously strong character, has ridiculous range. It's not tanky per se, but it has heavy metal, so it's like hard to lock down, at least, you know, if it has its passive up. It is a character that is just bursting, blowing up objectives, blowing up, you know, enemies all in a gigantic AoE, controlling the early game, controlling the jungle if you're, you know, feeding it the levels, and it's just a character that can flip objectives, and that's the pressure that it brings. You know, yeah, this character can do 100,000 damage really easily, but it also can just sit back and just be a farm bot and completely shred and 50-50 objectives. You know, there's so many games that I've had where we're behind and I flip Zapdos and get it. There's so many games that I've had where it's the other way around. I'm hard winning a game, and the next thing you know, they just rip Zap, and it's, you know, you try to stop it, but it's really hard. So Doraldon, make no mistake, is an incredible character to use in solo queue right now. You really have to understand how the Dragon Pulse works. You really want to build up those stacks, those marks on the enemy players on the objective, and then you have to get ready to kind of like learn the timing of Dragon Pulse, rip it, you know, just past that vertical line or all the way up to the end, and try to see if you can secure those objectives and those KOs, because this character is insane. The best part about Doraldon is that, you know, like Cinderace or Greninja or, you know, Decidueye, I kind of think that taking them in the lane is a little bit of a troll thing to do. It's not strong. It's really hard to make that work, and ultimately you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. But with Doraldon, it's really not that way. The secure in the early game is not the best, but it's not the worst. And once you get ramped up and you get your Dragon Pulse, you start dominating the lane. So I definitely think that Doraldon is worth taking, whether it be in the jungle or the lane. It's the strongest character in the entire game right now, and 100% needs to be being used in your solo queue matches. All right, and last but not least, and this one was actually a hard one to decide on. I still think that this one is kind of up in the air, so let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What would be your number 5, or what would be any of your picks? Number 5 is going to be Cinderace. Now, Cinderace is still an incredibly strong jungler. I think that this character does struggle a little bit against Doraldon, and just for the sake of saying for this entire list, I've been leaning a lot more towards full heal because of Doraldon. Even on, say, like Ninetales, I've been, you know, considering taking full heal and playing a little bit of full heal on it just to be able to cleanse and kind of full heal off the Dragon Pulse markers. But Cinderace is just a phenomenal jungler. This character is an insane jungler. It doesn't have the same like rip potential and objective secure that Doraldon has, but it has the heavy team fight snowball capability. And if you can kind of outplay a Doraldon with a Cinderace, then I feel like overall your team fight is a little bit better, and you're going to be able to kind of like do more DPS and actually dish out more damage as long as you can stay alive. So it's kind of a weird like ebb and flow to the team fight whenever you're a Cinderace going against a Doraldon. If you have Blaze Kick, you can kind of time out knocking out that Unite move usage too. It's a little bit hard to do. You have to kind of be looking for it, and you have to be positioned for it. Otherwise, just do Cinderace things, try to sit in that back line, try to use your Unite move to secure objectives, and ultimately just try to dish out a ton of damage, because that is what Cinder's really good at. Like I said, this last one was a bit hard for me to pick. I wasn't exactly sure which one I wanted to throw on the list, because there's some other great options. I mean, honestly, honorable mention, I was thinking about throwing Blastoise on the list, because I do think that Blastoise with Rapid Spin is pretty strong in solo queue right now. I didn't really like the idea of putting a defender on the list, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Friends, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for future Pokemon Unite content if you haven't already. Be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.